D2 Word Life here with Rip Quitter Tides.
Go fuck yourself. D2 I get screwed life.
Ha! 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 Very funny. Very funny indeed. And I don't always get screwed, only on Fortnite's Game of Pain. Hence my Fortnite Screwjob video from over a year ago. But we ain't talking about that. Today we are talking about WrestleMania 13 for this review that took place on March 23rd, 1997 in Chicago, in the Chicago suburb of Rosemont, Illinois, the Rosemont Horizon. With an attendance of 18,197, and the commentators for this event was Jim Ross, Jerry Lawler, Honky Tonk Man for the IC title match, Shawn Michaels for the main event, and of course, future prison inmate Vince McMahon. No rhetorical saying really there.
Really, buddy?
I was so expecting that immediately after I said that.
Oh, I know you were.
Yeah, and the ring announcer for this event was Howard Finkel, legendary. And I know you were upset there was no Michael Cole at this show. This happened before his debut.
Oh, I know you were.
No. We all know he was your boy. He was sadly missed for this one, but this was before he even started working for the company. He wouldn't be in WWE as an announcer, interviewer, commentator till later on in the year of 97. Right?
Yeah.
And shout out to the free-for-all match or the pre-show match, whatever you want to call it. It was Billy Gunn defeating Flash Funk, a.k.a. 2 Gold Scorpio from ECW, with a dance gimmick.
Yep.
And I wonder, why didn't that get over back then? It just never did. Right?
Yep.
So we go to the opening. So the first thing we see is the opening package for WrestleMania, celebrating all the previous 12 Manias before getting into this year's Mania, talking about the main storylines with Taker and Sid and Bret and Austin. And essentially this was a one-match show, and we'll talk about that match here in a bit. But like I said, I'm not going to go through every match spot for spot like usual now. Only picking out the main highlight ones. And then we open the match show proper with a 4-team elimination match. It was your boys, the Sister Fisters, the Godwins. It's like Henry and Phineas taking on the Headbangers, Moss and Thrasher, Furnace and LaFawn. That's a forgotten tag team. And the new Blackjacks of Barry Windham and Bradshaw. Bradshaw would actually become a bigger star in the company. And as we all know, Barry Windham, I believe, was the uncle of the late, great Bray Wyatt. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, in this 4-team elimination match, the winners of this would face the tag champions the next night on Raw, which I'll get into because I actually seen every Raw and pay-per-view from 97, binge-watching it before all the Raws went to freaking Netflix, and you can't even freaking watch half of them at this point. And I know that's really annoying for people like us trying to binge watch this stuff. Right?
Yeah.
Eventually they have all the old episodes on there. But that's another complaint for another day. But yeah, the rules of this match, it was like 2 people in the ring. 2 teams are on the outside completely or on the apron. With the stipulation being that anyone can tag anyone they want to. Like, for an example, a freaking Godwin could freaking tag in a headbanger and it'd be legal in this match, right?
Yeah.
And they even, and at some point in the match, Jerry Lawler even brought up the facts like, okay, what if Furnace pins LaFon? Does that mean they're both eliminated? He goes, well, with the structure of the match, yes, and I don't even know why the hell you'd want to do that. Right?
Yep.
Which is kind of interesting because, and this has nothing to do with the event. I haven't even gotten into this match yet. It's about a year later, they did the same thing on Raw where Road Dogg pinned Billy Gunn, and they were both the winners and the losers of the match.
Yep.
So, after that, they established what is known as the Outlaw Rule, meaning you can't pin your own partner in these kind of matches. They should have just done that and stuck with that in the first place. Right? But yeah, anyway, it's like the match started with everyone brawling each other, beating the hell out of each other before there was actually order in this match. Right? Yeah, and then freaking, yeah, and it officially got started with Bradshaw and Henry being the legal man when Bradshaw drilled Henry with a clothesline, which would become a staple of his finisher, the clothesline from hell later. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then like right in the middle of the match up here, like right in the middle of the match, at one point both headbangers got tagged in and they actually had to make contact before tagging out. They just did their little taunt spot. Right?
Yeah. I just like the fact that the fucking Godwins tagged in both the headbangers and then they freaking just did nothing.
Yeah, and then even Vince McMahon on commentary made it known, be like, yeah, there has to be contact between the two men before any of them can tag out.
Yep.
So they just did their little like back bump freaking taunt, and that was it. That technically counted, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but at one point, freaking both Blackjacks and freaking Wyndham both Blackjacks and freaking Furnace and LaFon were fighting on the outside. I think Bradshaw and Furnace was a legal man. I'm not totally sure for both their teams in the match. It ended with Furnace and LaFon getting counted out and Bradshaw losing his cool when the referee tried to stop him from brawling outside the ring, and he shoved the referee, thus getting his team disqualified too. Right? So we had two eliminations.
Bradshaw and I think LaFon that were both legal for their teams.
But either way, freaking both got eliminated basically at the same. Both teams got eliminated basically at the same time here. Right?
Yes.
Which that kind of made me not really like that spot. I'm like, okay, a quick elimination of two. Then what was the point? You might as well have this be a regular tag match with the Godwins and Mosh and Thrasher if you're going to do that early on. Right?
Yep.
which pretty much freaking, which pretty much meant that the Godwins and the Headbangers were the two teams left here anyway at this point. Right? And Phineas, aka Midian, hit a freaking delayed suplex on Thrasher for the 2 count. Right?
Yep.
Oh boy. And of course, obviously the Godwins freaking double teamed on Thrasher, pinning each other in, and freaking pinning each other in, and then freaking just doing more tandem double teamwork, including a spot where I believe it was either Henry or Phineas suplexed his tag team partner onto one of the headbangers, which headbangers retaliated at that point.
Phineas was the one that landed on their opponents.
And I don't care. You suplex your partner onto an opponent, no matter how you look at it. That's double teaming, no matter how you look at that. Right?
Yeah.
Oh boy. Of course, Mosh got the tag in eventually. Tried to attack Henry, but Henry freaking overpowered him with a boot, then a clothesline over the top of the floor, which I thought was a good comeback spot. Meaning that the freaking Godwins were still in control of this at this point, near the end. Right?
Yeah.
Of course, a little later on, freaking Mosh hit a springboard crossbody on Henry to the floor, and then Thrasher then jumped off the top of the crossbody into Henry. All's well, right?
Yep.
Which I'm like, okay, that was kind of a cool spot there. Yeah, and then both headbangers hit a double clothesline on Henry, right? Get back in the ring.
Yep.
Of course, Thrasher tried to hit a moonsault, but missed. Of course, Phineas in there was dominating both headbangers until Mosh freaking finished Henry off with a dive off the top rope for the win. Like a stage dive. Yeah, with that stage dive off the top, or the sitting dive, whatever you want to call it.
It was the sitting dive because he put his ass on his chest and pushed him down.
Yeah, and that's what finished Phineas off for the 3 count, giving the win to the headbangers here.
Yep.
So, okay, so your thoughts on this, because I've seen better WrestleMania openers than this one.
I've seen better. It was literally mid. It was even worse. No, it was even worse than mid. Even the mid-card matches were better than that.
And yeah, I give it to the headbangers because this was the only WrestleMania win they actually had in their career. So there you go.
No, they've had a few.
Well, not that I can recall, right?
They had a couple of them.
Oh yeah, and about that tag team championship match the following night on Raw, the headbangers would actually lose to the tag team champions. Yeah, there's a spoiler there, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was via disqualification or something, right? I thought the opener was okay. I mean, like I said, it wasn't the best. I've seen better openers at a WrestleMania than that, right?
Yeah.
But the crowd was into it, so I guess it counted for something, right?
Yeah.
So next, after the match, we see Honky Tonk Man make his way down to the commentary table. Honky Tonk Man, huh? When he started in wrestling years prior to this, I wonder what he thought. It's like, how am I going to be successful in wrestling? I know, I'll be Elvis. Hey, we can laugh all we want. He actually made the gimmick work, and he's still relevant today with that character, right?
Yes, he's the cousin of Jerry the King Lawler.
Yes, that too. Hell, but sometimes being related to Jerry Lawler doesn't always freaking guarantee success. Look at Jerry Lawler's son.
He was successful in his own way.
Brian Christopher's only claim to fame was the tag team with Too Cool. Beyond that, his singles run didn't really go the way he planned it. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, because of that, we were getting ready to see the Intercontinental Championship match. The Sultan was facing off against the champion, Rocky Maivia. Of course, the Sultan had Iron Sheik and Bob Backlund in his corner. And as we all know, Sultan was the future Rikishi. Right?
Yeah.
And of course, Rocky Maivia, he was Intercontinental Champion. And obviously, Rocky Maivia here had no future in this business. He was going to be cut shortly after Mania. In all reality, no. In all reality, though, we all know Rocky Maivia would become one of the biggest stars of the company.
Yeah.
But back then, he wasn't known as the final boss. He was known as the rookie employee.
Yep.
And this was during the phase where people, shortly after this, people started turning on him, doing the Die Rocky Die chants. Right?
Yep.
But anyway, that wouldn't come until later after WrestleMania 13 here. Right?
Yep.
And obviously the commentators were trying to put over a young Rocky here, which didn't really work. Right? Because we know what would come later. But, I digress. Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, the match started out, and of course, this was The Rock. So this was an early freaking match of The Rock versus Rikishi on pay-per-view. And this was obviously before Rikishi did it for The Rock.
he was doing it for the Sultan.
Yep. Of course, The Rock, or Rocky started.
I don't know how the fuck Bob Backlund was added to that.
That's because Rikishi was playing an Arabian character, and, well, obviously, Bob Backlund was from Iran. I think
Bob Backlund was not from. That was the.
the Iron Sheik was from Iran. Bob Backlund was just a freaking English spokesperson. Probably something for him to do.
You're getting your shit mixed up there, boy.
I'm getting my shit mixed up. Yeah, that tends to happen a lot.
Just like it tends to happen that you can't speak your words.
Just wait till my pick next time. We're going to be reviewing WrestleMania 11.
Go fuck yourself just because I had a brain disconnect for a second.
Yeah, by the way, you're the one who should make fun of me for not talking. I still remember that day.
Right? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, but anyway, Bob Backlund was there mostly because, the Sultan, he can't really speak, and he's being trained by two former champions. Supposedly, in this storyline, that's why he was there. Right?
Yeah.
Of course, Rocky started off quick, hitting some drop kicks to send the Sultan outside of the floor in the early going here. Right?
Yep.
And of course, the Sultan took advantage shortly afterwards after Rocky missed a clothesline. So Sultan took advantage by working on Rocky's arm here. Right? Damaging it, wearing down the opponent.
Yeah.
And of course, the whole time, I was kind of losing focus on this one because Honky Tonk Man was just pretty much just berating Rocky Maivia here, calling him a rookie, calling him nervous.
Enjoyed the match, Bill, because fucking Jerry the King Lawler and Honky Tonk Man just kept talking shit.
Like, I understand heel commentator Terry here, but if it takes away from the match, they're not really doing that good of a job. Right?
Yeah. Like I said, you couldn't really enjoy the match because all you'd hear is Honky Tonk like, oh, go after this, go do this, do that. I'm like, dude, chill.
It's like, just chill and shut up. Let the match play out. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah, of course, the Sultan got in control after freaking getting up from a clothesline. Or after he freaking nailed the clothesline to Rocky after a trapezius hold followed by knee to the midsection. Wear down hold.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. And then the Sultan went up to the top to hit a headbutt from the top rope. You know, Samoans are known for their hard heads.
Right? Yes, that's why you don't want to hit them.
Exactly. But seeing Rikishi the future Rikishi nail a headbutt from the top rope, yeah, that was impressive because he didn't do that too often as his Rikishi character either. Not too often that I remember.
Well, he never really went to the top rope all that much because he figured, this failed the first time. Let's not do this again. Plus 350-pound dude jumping off the top rope. Yeah.
Well, he didn't jump off the top rope too often. As the Rikishi character, I can only freaking count like a handful of times I've seen it. Right?
Yeah, but you have a 350-pound man.
Yeah.
Dropping from the sky, either hitting you or missing you. You're still taking damage no matter what, and he was taking damage anyway.
Yep.
That's why he took the whole freaking jumping off the top rope shit out of his repertoire. Except in video games where you can do that.
Well, obviously. Oh, and you know what thought is more scarier than Rikishi jumping off the top rope at you? Yokozuna doing it. Which he never done in real life. You can only do that in the video games. And even you said, that's scary.
That is scary.
But yeah, no. Back to this match a little bit. After the Sultan nailed a belly-to-belly suplex, Sultan put The Rock in the most devastating hold there was, a chin lock. You knew I had to call that when I seen it, right?
Yep.
Of course, The Rock actually fought back, got out of it, and then nailed a double clothesline, sitting them both down and out, right? The double clothesline spot, yeah. Of course, The Rock made his comeback with punches and a drop kick. The Rock got a 2 count after a belly-to-belly suplex. And then shortly afterwards, Rocky, or Rock, whatever you want to call it, nailed Sultan with a float-over DDT, right? Which would become one of his signature moves, right? Later on. And then freaking, then Rocky went up to the top rope and hit a cross body block on the Sultan Iron Sheik. Then that's when the Iron Sheik jumped on the apron, distracting the referee. Yeah. That way there was no count made. Yeah, and then freaking Sultan then hit The Rock with a side kick to the face. Then delivered a power driver to Rocky for a 2 count, right? Yeah, and then Vince was like, get him up, right? Yeah, but then Rocky then came back and hit the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up to win and get the 3 count to retain the championship. So before we talk about what happened after the match, your thoughts of this match bell to bell?
Yeah, it was decent, I guess.
I mean, yeah, this was the first, this was Rocky Maivia or The Rock's first WrestleMania. Freaking Rikishi, or the Sultans, I believe this was like his second or third Mania, I'm not totally sure. But he was...
Oh, this is after his,
head
shrinker gimmick?
Yeah, this was after the head shrinker gimmick, which that was his most successful at that point.
Yeah, this was after his Fatu gimmick, which was just...
This was after his Be a Star Positive Fatu gimmick, which really didn't... Fatu Zamu, this was after that gimmick Rikishi had, which didn't really go anywhere in the long run. Oh yeah, and shortly after this, the Sultan gimmick was made into a glorified jobber for the rest of '97. Until he freaking got repackaged as Rikishi a few years later, his most successful gimmick. Right?
Well, that's because Rikishi fucking literally said, I don't want to do this anymore. Because they figured, he's a big guy, and he's a powerhouse, he could actually do better than what he is.
Yeah.
So some people in the higher-ups that were back there in WWF still wanted him to be the Sultan, and he's like, no!
Exactly. And of course, when the Rikishi gimmick was brought attention to him, he's like, a Samoan wrestler? No, that's freaking goddamn Yokozuna's freaking gimmick. Right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, he agreed to do it, and it was the best move of his career because it gave he gave him longevity in the company with a successful gimmick. Right?
Yeah, it was his cousin, too.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Anyway, let's talk about after the match. After the match, freaking, JR tried to do an interview with Rocky, but the Sultan attacked him from behind, along with Honky Tonk Man, right? And of course, freaking, Backlund and Iron Sheik also joined in on attacking Rocky here.
Yeah.
Until Rocky Johnson came out.
Kept saying, get him, get him, get him.
Yeah, but then Rocky Johnson came out to make the save and knocked the Sultan down with punches. And
the soul man, Rocky Johnson.
And of course, Sultan tried to attack Rocky with the Iranian flag or whatever, but Rocky fought back with punches, sending the Sultan out to the floor. Yep. And then Rocky Johnson gave Sheik a body slam. Both Maivia and Johnson gave freaking goddamn Iron Sheik body slams to end the segment. Right?
Yes. Like I said, they gave them the Johnson special.
Yeah, then afterwards, freaking Rocky Johnson and Rocky Maivia embraced in the ring. And I couldn't help but notice during that there was a sign in the crowd that said Vince McMahon is God. I wonder if whoever brought that sign back to WrestleMania 13 regrets that now, if you know what I mean. Ha ha.
They're probably not even around.
I'm just
When
saying.
they're so around, they're old as hell.
I'm just saying. You would
Probably
never.
in their late 90s?
Maybe, depending on how old the fan was at that point.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe they're late 90s. Maybe they're in their 70s. I don't know.
Or if they could have been in their freaking 20s by then, but now they'd be in like their 50s, I believe. But either way, you would never see a sign that says that in WWE today for obvious reasons.
All of a sudden, you just see me at Raw on the 14th, and you just see a sign, and you're like, "What's that sign?" You going, "Vince is God." You're like,
I'd be like, "That's not going to get on TV. He's going to have that sign confiscated. How did he even get in the building with that?"
I walked in.
Security would be like, "You can't have that."
They can't tell you can't have it.
Well, according to you, AEW makes you have double-ended signs, though.
Yeah, but people didn't do it anyways. They just kept their one-sided sign, and that's AEW, which they don't give you refunds anyways.
Exactly. Well, you didn't see one AEW show and you dodged a bullet with the other one, but your friend didn't. All right. Of course, then again, you never freaking paid for an AEW ticket anyway.
Nope. Besides the point, moving on.
Anyway, moving on with the rest of this review here. My thoughts on the whole Intercontinental title match with Rocky and Sultan. It felt more of average to me, but obviously they would become bigger stars and have a better match later with a better storyline. That's still talked about today with the "I did it for the Rock" meme. All right. Which we got to review Survivor Series 2000 at some point, probably after Mania this year. I don't know. All right. Anyway, we go back to the locker room where Todd Pettin, y'all remember him?
Vaguely.
But yeah, anyway, he was interviewing Ken Shamrock, who was the special guest referee for the Austin Hart match later. And he pretty much declared
that's because none of the referees wanted to referee that match. So Mr. McMahon had to literally ask Ken Shamrock
from the UFC to do it. Right?
Yes.
But anyway, Ken Shamrock pretty much said
before Shamrock was even in WWF.
I think he would officially sign the WWE shortly after this, because we all know the WWE career that Ken Shamrock had. Shortly after WrestleMania.
He did sign shortly after, because when they saw him waistlock Bret Hart, they freaking literally signed him right away.
But yeah, freaking
they gave him a multi-million-dollar deal for so many years.
But yeah, Shamrock pretty much said that he knows he was there to be the referee because he knows about submissions, and that he would not be intimidated. They even showed footage of Shamrock on Raw taking down Billy Gunn and putting him in the ankle lock. Right?
Yeah.
Just to show that I ain't gonna be intimidated by anybody, whether they're Billy Gunn, Bret Hart, Austin.
Was because Stone Cold said that if anyone would have stopped the match, it didn't matter if they were refs or not, he was gonna beat their ass.
Yeah, and Shamrock pretty much said he ain't gonna be intimidated by Bret Hart, by Austin, by nobody in the company, right?
Exactly.
But then after that little interview, we also cut to Doc Hendricks talking to Hunter Hearst Helmsley along with Chyna, who Chyna literally debuted at the In Your House pay-per-view before this, about a month prior. Yeah. And pretty much Doc Hendricks is asking freaking Hunter Hearst Helmsley, the future Triple H, another future boss of the company now, asking, okay, what's Chyna's role here? Is she your bodyguard, or what's her role here? And freaking Triple H pretty much said, don't worry about it, right? You don't need to know nothing about it.
And the whole thing stemmed from Marlena not being Triple H's manager.
Yep. Yeah, and then Triple H, also Hunter actually made threats to Marlena saying that China was going to get her, that he was going to dominate, which pretty much brings us to our next match, which was Hunter Hearst Helmsley, managed by China, taking on Goldust with Marlena in his corner.
Yes, his wife.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah, and this rivalry between Goldust and Hunter Hearst Helmsley actually dates back to December of '96. Right?
I thought it was 95.
No, it was December of '96 that these two first crossed paths. With Hunter Hearst Helmsley beating the hell out of Goldust right before the turn of the year here in '97. Those two would actually have an Intercontinental title match against each other at the '97 Rumble, which Hunter Hearst Helmsley won.
No.
Yeah, and then China would make her debut at the In Your House Final Four pay-per-view, and then the rivalry just continued with China just attacking Marlena at every point.
Yeah.
And of course, on commentary, Vince McMahon did mention, to Jerry Lawler, you found out what freaking Goldust was not. And yeah, this was months after the infamous Jerry Lawler question to Goldust, which I can't repeat here, but we all know what it was, right? Going back to Goldust 96 character, when he was more of a androgynous character, if you want to call it that. Right?
Oh, you mean his creepy ass fucking weird things he did?
Pretty much, and then one segment on Raw, a couple months before this, Jerry Lawler even asked a question to Goldust. Are you British word for cigarette, which I'm not going to repeat here? And Goldust strictly said no. Right?
You mean the French?
Yeah, pretty much. And Goldust answered that with no.
Word for cigarette?
Yes, and Goldust answered no, and that's what turned Goldust's face. That's pretty bad. Back in 1997, they literally had to do that to turn Goldust into a babyface. Figure that one out.
Well, that's because he'd always do these weird, creepy ass gimmicks every time.
Exactly.
That really fucking made people think, like, is he actually this? Is he this way? Is he? And I'm like, just stick with one freaking gimmick. He is Goldust. Stay with Goldust.
I mean, yeah, he was androgynous Goldust, then relatable Goldust here, then he would later become the artist formerly known as Goldust, and then, he had a lot of weird gimmicks in the 90s.
Then he'd become blue dust, green dust, orange dust.
Okay. Don't start that again. Then he would actually have a rivalry with Blue Meanie. Yes, Blue dust. We don't need to discuss that again. But anyway, getting to this WrestleMania 13 match here. Mister, you're going to laugh. One of these days, you're going to bring and roll on the floor laughing at all these names. If you haven't already, by the way.
Dude, I come up with weird shit, so.
Yep. Shortly after the match, freaking Goldust gave Triple H or Hunter, whatever you want to call him, an atomic drop, followed by a clothesline out to the floor. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, then Goldust started decking freaking Hunter with punches, and then freaking and even followed up by hitting freaking Hunter more with punches in the ropes after he locked Hunter in the ropes, right? Taking advantage of that, right? And of course, Vince McMahon had to make fun of Triple H's big nose. I'd be like, okay, Vince, you're trying to bury freaking Hunter on commentary. What Vince didn't know is Hunter was his future son-in-law at this point. Yeah, and pretty much future owner of the business, right?
Yeah, but it's still funny. He was making fun of his giant ass nose.
Swear to God, freaking back then, Hunter Hearst Helmsley was probably the Pinocchio of WWE. Now that he's bald with a big nose, you could consider him the Squidward of the WWE. I swear to God.
He snorted a bunch of coke with that big nose, too.
Yeah, with a nose that big, you probably could, but according to what's public knowledge, Triple H never did any drugs when wrestling in his career.
I know, I'm making a joke.
Yeah, I know you're making a joke, but I'm just stating facts here to go with that joke. And of course, following a clothesline over the top, following another clothesline. Actually, no, Goldust whipped Hunter into the ring post, followed by another clothesline, back over the top rope, back into the ring. Hunter got the advantage by hitting Goldust with a spinning power slam after he hit a knee smash on the Goldust here. Shortly afterwards, freaking Goldust actually freaking gave Hunter a suplex off the top rope. Right?
Yep.
Actually no, I think it was Hunter that gave suplex off the top rope. Whatever. Either way, Goldust ended up crashing out to the floor. Right?
Yep.
And obviously the crowd wasn't into it because they've seen this match before, but, it is what it is. You notice the crowd response wasn't really good for this one.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, but then later on in the match, freaking Hunter hit a neck breaker for a 2 count. Right? And then he started taunting Molina, saying, "Hey, director, can you get more shots of Molina?" Right? Whatever.
Molina, whatever.
Yeah. Whatever, right? Instead, the cameras were focusing on Chyna's face, trying to get, like, some sort of expression, because Chyna looks stone-faced sitting out there. Kind of like the rest of the crowd who weren't into this match, even though that was their gimmick at that point, right?
Yeah.
And then Goldust freaking came back with a whip to the ropes. Then he ducked. Of course, he ducked, and then Hunter hit a freaking DDT and then hit a backsliding Goldust for a 2 count. And then Goldust came back with the most devastating move in all sports entertainment. A small package or surprise roll-up, whatever you want to call it, but that also got Goldust a 2 count. Right?
The small package, yes.
That's what you got, a small package. No, that was you. I beat you to the joke already.
No. I was already to the joke. You were about to say it.
Shortly after the freaking pinfall attempt, freaking Triple H came back with a clothesline on the Goldust, knocking him down again. Yeah, and then both of them hit a double shoulder block, so they were both down, right, at this point.
Yeah.
And of course, whatever Triple H had planned, up on the top rope for a dive, freaking he missed because Goldust jumped out of the way, and Triple H crashed onto his ass. I call that the Preparation H-bomb. Right? Because all you get is nothing but pain in your ass. Right? Ugh. Yeah, and then freaking, it's like, then a little later on, freaking Goldust nailed Hunter with a back body drop, and then whipped Triple H into the corner where Triple H did his signature upside down bump that he always took in his career. Signature bump that he took in his career.
Yeah.
Which then led Goldust hitting a bulldog on Hunter for a 2 count. And that's when Chyna on the outside was stalking Molina around the ringside area. Right?
Yeah.
When Goldust went for his curtain call finish, but Triple H fought out of it. And Triple H then tried to go for his pedigree finisher, but Goldust reversed that into a slingshot into the top ropes. But then that's when Goldust got distracted because he picked Molina up and put her onto the apron. So Hunter freaking took advantage, kneed Goldust in the back, sending Molina into Chyna, who started viciously ragdolling Chyna with a bear hug, treating her like a freaking doll pretty much. And then Triple H freaking hit the pedigree on Goldust to secure the pinfall victory.
Yeah.
So yeah, your thoughts on this match, back and forth?
It was a pretty decent match. It was back and forth, and just it was weird.
To me, this was the best match of the night up to this point. Obviously not the best match overall, but it was passable, even though I'd seen the match before on a prior show before this. right?
Yeah.
But, you know, I think the rivalry did continue on after WrestleMania here between the two, so there you go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so moving on, we go backstage where they showed Shawn Michaels chatting with fans on the computer, which that image of Shawn Michaels on the freaking computer has now become a meme, by the way. Like an old person meme, by the way. Shawn Michaels even said himself in recent years he really doesn't like to use the technology or computers. And I'm like, yeah, and it showed back in '97 when computers were first becoming a thing, basically in the early years of technology.
And what's funny as hell is he was going deet, deet, deet,
Talk
deet,
about
deet, deet,
ta-
deet, deet, deet.
talk about Hunt and Peck, and even Vince McMahon freaking made the funny analogies like, yeah, that key right there, Sean. Right?
Exactly.
Anyway, we move on to the tag team championship match. It was Owen Hart and the British Bulldog defending their titles against Mankind and Vader, who were accompanied by Paul Bear. But when Owen and Bulldog were making their way to the ring, Jim Ross interviewed Owen and Bulldog about Owen's claim that he was a leader of the team and that Owen was jealous of Bulldog, who had the European Championship, by the way, which we all know a couple weeks prior to Mania, freaking Bulldog defeated Owen in the tournament finals to become the first ever European champion, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I guess there was a bit of jealousy in the tag between the two, which Owen claimed that he never said that he was the leader of the team. He's not jealous of Bulldog. Bulldog had 2 titles, and at the time, Owen had 2 Slammies. Starting the whole 2 Slammy gimmick up, right? So Owen and Bulldog he stole them Slammies, but you know what? That right there is Picardo is part of what made Owen Hart famous. Was that too, right? That people still reference.
Was that they were arguing over who was the captain of their team. It's like, oh no, it's me, no, it's me, no, it's me, no, it's me.
And yeah, this was Mick Foley's first WrestleMania match as the Mankind character, because he would debut in WWE literally the year prior, the day after WrestleMania 12. Right?
In a brown suit.
Yeah, in his brown attire before freaking he morphed into the white shirt and tie attire like he would do a year later. Right?
Yep.
For the Mankind character. And this was before, you know, this was like literally months prior before he debuted as Dude Love and Cactus Jack, respectively, being his 3 gimmicks. Right?
Yep.
Which we already reviewed the 1998 Royal Rumble when he came out as all 3 gimmicks in one match. Right?
Yes.
And even when I think of the
Mick Foley was in a freaking Royal Rumble 3 times.
Yeah. And I know this is off topic, but this goes back to what I mentioned about the Rumble match briefly. Mick Foley even told this story during like interviews and, you know, shows where he talks about his career. He even said, it's like, yeah, he bragged to his son recently that he's the only person who participated in the Royal Rumble match 3 times as 3 different characters.
Exactly.
And his son's reaction at that point was like, wait a minute, let me get this straight. You participated in the same Royal Rumble match 3 times and you still couldn't win? When you think about it, that's kind of a blow to Foley's ego, which is exactly what happened. Right?
Yeah, but he was good about it though. He almost won with his last gimmick.
Yes, before he was dumped out by Farouk, I believe, in that match. Right?
Yeah.
But anyway, this tag match was kind of interesting because the fans didn't know who to cheer for initially because both teams were heels going into the match. Mick Foley wouldn't do it. Mick Foley would slowly turn face after WrestleMania. Or
It was two heel teams. It was Foley and Vader with Paul Bear
taking on Owen and
and
Bulldog, which
taking on Owen and the British Bulldog right before they made the Hart Foundation.
The Hart Foundation 2.0, right?
Yes.
And of course, Mick Foley would turn face like a couple months after Mania. So there you go. I mean, Mick Foley had one more heel freaking title match at the pay per view after this, the In Your House show. But we'll talk about that when we eventually review that event. All right.
Yeah.
So yeah, the match started off early with Owen hitting a spinning heel kick, and Vader then dropped him with a slam because, Vader was a big powerhouse here.
Yeah.
Yeah, then Vader ended up dropping Owen with a power bomb, right?
Yep.
So yeah, then Mankind came in, and then Bulldog hit a double clothesline on both Vader and Mankind onto the top rope, while Owen hit a double drop kick, knocking them both down at the same time again, right?
Yep.
And of course, Mankind was a legal person, so Bulldog whipped him into the corner and then hit a delayed vertical suplex on Mankind, right? Of course, Mankind tried battling back, got a tag in on Vader, and then, Vader hit Bulldog with the urn, which the referee missed, because that would have been a disqualification, right? And because of that, it seems like the crowd was more on Bulldog and Owen's side, who were now working this match as a face team, right? Considering Mankind and Vader were doing the heel tactics here. For like one night, they were. So I guess for one night, Bulldog and Owen were the faces in this match, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Vader hit a suplex on Owen for a 2 count, and then Vader splashed Owen in the corner, and then gave him a front splash off the middle rope, right?
Yep.
Of course, Mankind got tagged in and hit the freaking running knee in the corner, which would become a Mick Foley signature. We hit it on Owen Hart, I believe, right?
Yes.
So it was more
they
like
also just keep Owen Hart in the match because they didn't really want to deal with the Bulldog's power, so they just fucking kept bullying Owen.
Yeah, but either way, the challengers were, and of course, Owen or Bulldog got tagged in, hit him down, but then tagged back in Owen, who hit a missile drop kick, fallback cross body block for a 2 count, I believe, on Mankind, who was a legal person.
Yes.
Of course, Owen then ran the ropes, but freaking Vader stopped him with his, crushed him with his power, stopped him with his power move, right?
Yep.
And yeah, out on the floor, Vader put Owen over his knee, and Mankind dropped an elbow off the friggin' ropes onto Owen, right? Impressive double. That's an impressive double team. So technically, we got the cactus elbow off the freaking rope in that move. And of course, Mankind and Vader continued to double team on Owen here, right in front of Stu and Helen Hart, who are at ringside in the crowd watching, right?
Yeah, it was still, and Jerry King Law was still talking shit about the Harts.
Yeah, I mean, he'll at that point, Lawler will never let that feud go. Right?
He just kept saying, "Oh, Helen brought out her jewelry. She got it on sale when it first came out." Like,
dude, really? Right?
Oh, Stu Hart finally woke up.
It's like he's dozing, he's napping over there. What the heck? Right? And I'm just like, these old jokes were getting really repetitive. And now I think that's ironic because people can say that about Jerry Lawler these days.
Yeah.
If someone started burning Jerry Lawler on commentary like that, I'd be like, payback. Right?
Yep.
And of course, the crowd were behind Owen to try to make that hot tag to Bulldog. And of course, there was a neck breaker attempt by, I believe, Mankind, but Owen reversed it into a DDT, right?
Yep.
And of course, Owen then hit a freaking spinning wheel kick to Mankind's face, to Mankind for a 2 count, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Vader then got the tag in. And of course, Vader got tagged in and pretty much dominated Owen with a lot of punches to the face. And of course, this led to Mankind getting had in since Owen was weaker at this point. And of course, Owen got thrown out to the floor, but Owen countered a charge by Mankind with a belly-to-belly suplex, which that looked impressive on the outside. So Mankind went splat. Right?
Yes.
Of course, back in the ring, freaking Owen hit the Enziguri to freaking dang Mankind, and then got the hot tag to Bulldog, who dominated Mankind by ramming him into the turnbuckles multiple times. Yeah, then Mankind then came back, then he put Bulldog into the mandible claw submission hold, right? And then Vader then splashed Owen, which sent Mankind and Bulldog to the outside. But instead of Mankind putting Bulldog back in, or vice versa, Mankind just reapplied the mandible claw onto Bulldog onto the outside, which cost the referee just to count both teams out.
Well, also literally, when they, God damn it, Vader and Mankind double teamed. I think it was either Owen or the Bulldog. They freaking literally put him on his knee and had Mankind jump off and splat him on his knee.
And yes, it is worth knowing that near the end of the brawl, freaking Vader did take his mask off and kept continuing the punishment. Right?
Yes.
But either way, the end result was the same with Bulldog and Mankind both getting counted out, so therefore there was no winner of this match. It was a double count out, which meant that Owen and Bulldog still were the champions following this one. Good match, but disappointing finish. So, what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, it was decent. It was okay.
Yeah, not the.
Was it disappointing? Yes.
Yeah, and Mick Foley would go on to have better WrestleMania matches following this, and of course, Owen Hart and the Bulldog had better WrestleMania matches before this.
Yeah.
So yeah, to me, it was a little disappointing. The end kind of took away points for me. Of course, after the match, Mankind kept the mandible claw locked in on Bulldog. Fans didn't really care. And of course, Mankind only stopped when freaking Vader pulled him off. Right? They had him to get him off the vault, to get them stop the hold. And both teams went to the back, whatever. That was the end of that, right?
Yep.
So yeah, then we go to our next match, which they did a hype video package for, and I'm talking about the submission match between Austin and Bret Hart here.
Yeah.
Which this is the best match of the night, I believe, but before that, they aired a video package about the Bret Hart-Steve Austin feud, which started when Bret Hart left after WrestleMania 12, probably to re-sign and do a Hollywood movie. Austin then challenged Bret Hart at Survivor Series months later, which those two had a classic match of the 96 Survivor Series, which we already reviewed. So this is kind of the sequel to that match here that we already talked about.
Yep.
Yeah, and then, of course, the feud continued through the Royal Rumble, which Austin won, but illegally, and Austin had his title match stripped of him, and then Austin would lose the fatal four-way for the vacant WWE Championship the month prior. And Bret Hart won the match, only for Austin to cost Bret Hart the title to Sycho Sid the night after the In Your House Final 4 pay-per-view. And at some point, the Raw prior, before WrestleMania 13 here, Bret Hart would face Sycho Sid for the title in a steel cage match, and then, well, Austin and The Undertaker both interfered, which Sycho Sid retained the championship that night, and that's when Bret Hart cut that infamous "everyone keeps screwing me" promo. Right?
Yes, that we keep using time after time after time after time after time.
And if I remember correctly, that just resulted in a big brawl between Austin, Hart, Undertaker, and Sid, the 4 men in these big matches made for Mania. Right?
Yeah.
And even Austin in the lead-up said he doesn't know anything about submission holds, but he will beat the hell out of Bret before to make him say I quit or submit. Right? Right.
Yeah, well, this is why they literally made it freaking no holds barred submission match, because there was going to be physical, and both of them didn't want it to end the way that the officials wanted it to end.
Yes. So yeah, the point to this match is to beat your opponent down so bad that they submit or can't continue. Right?
Yes.
And back then, the submission match was kind of known as Bret Hart's specialty match. Right?
Yes.
Because, the sharpshooter submission hold that Bret Hart has. Right? And of course, going into this match, friggin' Austin was the heel, Bret was the big baby face, but we'll know exactly what happens after this match. Right?
Yes.
In the match, and after both men made their entrances, the match started off rather abruptly when Austin freaking charged at Bret with a double leg takedown, and they brawled out to the floor. I can't go through this spot for spot, but I'll just point out the important parts that I thought were good. Right?
Dude, it was just a one-sided ass whooping from Stone Cold for most of the goddamn match.
Yeah, and then obviously they did the whole back and forth punching spot routine, which the crowd loved because, this was a personal rivalry. Right? Hey, some of the best matches stem from personal rivalries.
Stone Cold even freaking lawn darted freaking Bret Hart into the fucking steps.
Yes.
Yes.
And at one point, Austin countered a suplex or a reverse whip, and then he crotched Bret Hart onto the guardrail. Right? So, yes, Austin was a dick to Bret Hart here with that.
Well, I was just about to fucking say that.
I know, you keep stealing that shit, but either way, it's still valid. Right?
I'm going to make sure you can't say it.
Yeah. Yeah, then both of them went out into the crowd, started brawling out in the crowd.
I just like the fact that when they were in the crowd, Stone Cold just takes someone's beer, drinks, and then smashes it on fucking Bret Hart.
Yep. And of course, Shamrock followed those two from behind because Shamrock was a special guest referee for this match, like we talked about earlier at the start. Right?
No, he wanted to make sure in case someone was knocked out, that he would catch it instead of just being in the ring.
Yes. And while in the crowd under the concrete, Austin went for a pile driver on Bret, but Bret reversed it, so Austin landed back first on the steps. Right?
Yeah.
Which that looked like it hurt.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying this now. You freaking doubted Stone Cold Steve Austin's toughness from
no one's doubted. No one does. I'm just saying, for those who did, they know he was tough at this point. Right?
Yeah, because if it was me and you, we'd still be on the ground.
Yeah, you and I wouldn't be able to take any of this shit. We're average people. Right?
Well, so you're saying that they're not average, they're abnormal?
You gotta be abnormal to be a freaking pro wrestler here and take this and abuse your body like this and still stand. I mean, look at Mick Foley and his career. Enough said about that. That talks about himself.
Fucking completely nuts.
Shit, Mick Foley has a laundry list of injuries that he could write a best-selling book about at this point. Right?
He did.
Oh, yeah, I think he did. Right? Anyway, they came back into the... Anyway, once they were back at the ringside, they threw fists at each other. None of them slowed down at all. Right?
No, there was no freaking backpedal. This was just full throttle punching and beating the shit out of their opponents.
And of course,
they did not give two shits.
And of course, shortly after that, like you said, freaking Austin was able to manage to whip Bret's shoulder first into the ring steps, like you were talking about a little bit earlier. Right?
Yeah, that wasn't a whip. That was a fucking long dart.
That was a long dart, a yeet, a throw, whatever you want to call it. Right?
He fucking took out those damn steps.
Right?
I'm surprised Bret Hart fucking didn't have any injuries after. I'm like, damn.
Yeah, and then freaking Bret freaking gave Austin the double middle finger and then clotheslined him off the ring apron. Right?
Yeah.
Of course, Austin shortly afterwards picked up the ring steps, but Bret kicked him in the gut.
Which I saw which not a lot of people, the steel steps literally hit Stone Cold in the back, on his back and the back of his leg at the same time.
Yes.
So when he got hit, he went down, but he went down hard.
Yeah. But Austin was able to retaliate by whipping Bret Hart into the ring post, right?
Well, you also saw Shamrock trying to help him up because he saw that and he was like, ooh.
That looked like it actually hurt.
And I don't think that was actually supposed to happen that way.
Yeah, but then back in the ring, freaking Bret was able to get the advantage by hitting a swinging neck breaker on Austin.
Yeah.
And of course, Bret got the advantage, kept the advantage with an elbow drop off the middle rope to keep Austin down, trying to fight back. And then that's when Bret went to work on Austin's left knee. I think this was his knee braced one. Take Austin's knee out.
The injured knee.
You take Austin's knee out, that could weaken him up to apply a submission hold to try to get him to quit, even though he stated he'll never quit. Right?
Well, freaking Shamrock, freaking Bret Hart was literally told Shamrock, ask him if he quit. Freaking Stone Cold just fucking gave him the double bird.
But yeah, Bret was weakening Austin's knees with a knee smash, kicks to the knees, a freaking hamstring, puller submission, stretch. You know, all the works here, right?
Knee wrench.
The knee wrench and everything else, right?
Yes, like I said, he asked Shamrock to literally see if Stone Cold would quit because he couldn't really get up, and freaking Stone Cold just gave him the double bird.
And of course, we got a note on commentary here that JR did say that these are finely tuned athletes who are not worried about covering their bald spots. That was a shot at WCW, by the way. Which is ironic because Austin is bald, right?
Yes.
And of course, while locked in a submission hold or whatever, Shamrock did ask Austin to freaking if he gave up, but then Austin freaking gave freaking Shamrock a the double bird, which pretty much said to Shamrock, nope, he doesn't. Right?
Yeah, he's like, fuck you.
That would be your response to that too, wouldn't it?
Yeah, you fucking someone coming and ask you, oh, do you quit? No, not once. Twice!
Yeah, but then Bret went for a move to weaken the knee up some more, but Austin moved out of the way. Yeah, then Austin
kicked him in the ass.
Then Austin got up and actually hit a stunner on Bret. All right, but
it wasn't his normal stunner. It was just him grabbing and just dropping down.
Yes. It's like, yeah, but it was like an old school stunner or whatever. It's not the traditional stunner what you see Austin do, like you said.
But no, it was still his stunner. I'm just saying it wasn't his normal stunner, the one where he would normally kick him in the gut and then do it.
Yep.
He just grabbed him to get some distance.
Yeah. And of course, that didn't really deter Bret, because a few moments later, after working on the knees some more, Bret Hart actually took Austin to the corner and pretty much did the figure four leg lock around the ring post that Bret Hart became a Bret Hart signature at this time. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ, man. That's still devastating to see.
And then they started talking about a one-man in an ass-kicking contest.
Yep.
A one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest.
Of course, Austin did not give up here, because he's like, no, screw this. I'm not giving up. Bret can't get me to quit. Right?
Dude, there was no way in hell I could see Stone Cold fucking tapping.
Yep. Of course, Bret then released the hold, rolled Austin into the ring, because at this point, Austin went outside the ring after the move was broken up. Right?
Yeah.
So Bret decided, time to introduce weapons. So Bret went out there and grabbed the ring bell and placed it on the apron. Before he decided to grab a steel chair, and he went back in the ring and put that steel chair on Austin's ankle, pretty much. And then Bret Hart went up to the top rope, pretty much attempting to Pillmanize Austin's ankle. Same move that Austin did to Brian Pillman, hence the term. Right?
Yes, he wanted to that's what they even referenced, just exactly what happened to Pillman.
Yep. But yeah, either way, whatever Bret Hart had in mind, he was probably going to try to jump from the top rope to land on that steel chair around Austin's ankle, but it did not come to fruition, because Austin got up, took the chair, and drilled Bret Hart across the back, sending Bret Hart down off the turnbuckle. Right?
Yep.
And the crowd went nuts for that, too. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, but then Austin got up and Austin tried to. Yeah, but then Bret Hart tried to get up, so Austin nailed Bret in the back with a chair again. Pretty much symbolizing that Bret Hart being like, I get knocked down, but I get right back up again.
It wasn't just one. He just started wailing on his ass.
Yes. Shortly afterwards, there was a body slam by Austin, followed by an Irish Rip into the buckle that put Bret Hart down again, so Bret Hart did his signature turnbuckle spot, where he landed chest first and then dropped. Right? Afterwards.
Yep.
And then Austin followed that up with an elbow drop off the middle rope, and obviously the crowd were into this one again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and after Austin hit a Russian leg sweep, Austin put Bret Hart in an arm submission hold, but Bret did not submit. Right?
Yeah.
And of course, Jerry Lawler had to ruin it, because they did the close-up of Stu Hart here. And even Jerry Lawler said, even Stu was woken up for this. I'm like, really? You had to put an old person joke in the middle of this classic match? Right?
Yeah.
Shortly afterwards, Austin did apply the Boston Crab and sat down as low as he could, but Bret said, nope. I'm not going to tap out, so Bret got to the ropes, which forced Austin to release the hold. Right? To release the Boston Crab. Then Austin went for the sharpshooter, but then Bret countered him by poking him in the eyes. Yeah, there's one person that knows how to counter a sharpshooter. It's Bret Hart here. Right?
Yeah.
But just imagine if you were living in a world, just imagine an alternative universe had Austin put that sharpshooter on Bret Hart. Imagine the ego, imagine the freaking shot to the ego of Bret Hart if that's what forced him to tap out here.
Yeah.
Of course, we did see Bret Hart tap out to the sharpshooter months later at the '97 Survivor Series. But enough about that, right? By the way, Austin tossed Bret Hart to the outside again. And so Austin was going to Irish whip Bret Hart into the guardrail, but Bret reversed it and sent Austin head first into the guardrail and by the announcers in the timekeeper area. Right there. And then shortly afterwards, we saw that Austin was busted open at this point. Right?
Yeah, because he got freaking thrown into the damn thing after getting.
Yeah. And then following that, Bret, like a shark that smelled blood in the water, Austin rammed Austin's head into the guardrail again repeatedly. Right? Thus making Austin bleed everywhere on his face and head. Right? And of course, Bret then punched Austin in the head several times following that. Right?
Yeah.
Trying to work on that cut to open it up even more. Right?
Yep.
Saying, oh yeah, with the logic being, oh, if he loses blood, he'll have to give up in a submission hold, right? That's why he was doing that. Yeah, then Austin was then thrown into the ring post, the ring steps, and the guardrail, right? Also, just Bret Hart was like trying to freaking like count, like zero in on that injury, right?
Yeah, he could just have pounding him in the face.
And you gotta realize back then this was a big deal because back then blood wasn't as normal as it would become a little later on. This was a shocker moment, right?
Yeah.
To see someone's face just busted like this, right?
Yes.
Of course, a little later on, Austin actually did fight back on Bret with an elbow to the head and a kick to the head followed by rapid punches. Actually, no, Bret did that to Austin. Austin eventually fought back, right? But Bret was freaking coming the most sadistic and evil, trying to convince everyone that, hey, I'm dominating this match. Austin has no chance here. And then back in the ring, Bret went for the sharpshooter, but Austin raked the eyes of Bret Hart, just trying to fight back. Right?
Yep.
And of course, Bret Hart kept kept being on the attack until freaking Austin was addicted to Bret Hart's again with a low blow. Blatant low blow to get Bret Hart off of him. Right?
Yeah.
So Austin got up and whipped Bret into the turnbuckle sternum first, which was, once again, we saw Bret's signature bump there. Right?
Yep.
Shortly afterwards, Austin gave Bret a suplex. The crowd were into it at this point. So Austin then left the ring and grabbed an extension cord to one of the cameras, right?
Yeah.
And he freaking and then Bret headed towards the bell that he placed on the ring apron earlier, but Austin freaking put the extension cord around Bret's neck looking to choke him out, right?
Yeah.
And if Bret got choked out, yeah, he could possibly pass out, giving Austin the win there, but that was to no avail because Bret took the ring bell off the apron and smacked Austin in the head with it, getting out of, releasing that chokehold. Yep. And, Austin was motionless in the ring, so Bret Hart was like, screw it, I'm going to freaking put the sharpshooter in right here. And then Bret Hart would sit on the sharpshooter right there, locking it in place. And the referee.
Well, Stone Cold got out of it, and then fucking got dragged right back to the middle.
Yeah, I mean Shamrock freaking, and this is where this is the part of the match people talk about. It's like Shamrock was asking Austin if he submits, but Austin was like, nope, and he kept getting that adrenaline, blood freaking dripping down Austin's face. He even tried to break the sharpshooter at one point, which he was almost successful. But freaking Bret Hart freaking still had the hold locked in. Right?
Yes. Like I said, even Shamrock to this day still says that Stone Cold was the toughest man that night that he saw. Was literally any other person would have probably tapped out, but no, he literally passed out.
Yeah.
Slumped back up, freaking pounded the mat.
Yes.
Almost broke the submission. And then still passed out, got back up again.
Yeah. Yeah, and at this point, freaking Austin knew he was done, but he refused to quit. He had one last rush of adrenaline, giving the freaking us that visual of him busted open, screaming in pain. Is a symbol of the Attitude Era, right?
Yes.
But then afterwards, instead of tapping out, Austin freaking goddamn just passed out. And the referee was like, or Shamrock was like, it's like, Steve, answer me. Do you give up? There was no response, so Shamrock called the match off and awarded Bret Hart the win.
Yes.
And
to the surprise of no one.
Okay, before we talk about that, your thoughts on this match from bell to bell.
Anyone that doubted Stone Cold Steve Austin's toughness during that entire match was fucking surprised.
Yes. I mean, hell, the ending actually made you believe Austin had a chance to break the sharpshooter and continue the fight.
Yes.
I mean, if there was anyone that looked good after a loss, it was Austin here. That helped cement his name and legacy. Right?
Yes.
And of course, after the match, Bret Hart showed that he was a real dick, right? When he went to beat down Austin some more. And Austin tried to reapply the sharpshooter, but Shamrock freaking hip-tossed Bret Hart off. And the crowd hated
Austin. I think you let Bret.
Shamrock hip-tossed Bret off of Austin. And then Austin freaking backed down from a freaking fight challenge from Shamrock here. Thus the fans turned on Bret Hart, booing the hell out of him, cheering Steve Austin, who never submitted. So this is what is meant when that match had the famous double turn. Right?
Yes.
With Austin turning face and Bret Hart turning heel. Right?
Yep.
So Bret just walked away and Bret walked away with that look on his face saying, "You people make me sick." And of course, after the match, referees and other officials tried to help Austin up to his feet, but Austin freaking just stunned referee Mike Chioda, refusing help, right? And Austin freaking stumbled and got himself back up and just walked out under his own power, which got him a huge pop from the crowd. Yep. Saying he may have lost, but he ain't being stretched out. He's walking out on his own accord. Right? With the crowd were chanting Austin at the end of the match. Right? This officially turning Austin from tweener to face. Right? Yeah. Officially. So honestly, that's the match that this match regards this is why this match show is a one-match show, because of that one. With the Hart and Austin submission match. Right? So yeah.
It was just a fucking brutal ass match. And fucking Bret Hart's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna put the freaking sharpshooter back on." And Shamrock's like, "No, back off." He pushes Shamrock and then just fucking waistlock fucking suplexes his ass.
Yes.
And fucking Bret Hart's like, "To hell?"
It's like, nope. And then Bret Hart's like, "Nope, I'm done. I'm out of here." Backing away from a challenge. Right?
Yeah, because literally, Shamrock was known as the freaking baddest man. Yeah.
Of UFC.
And Bret Hart was like, "Oh, I'll take on anyone." Freaking Shamrock was like, "Come on then, come on." He's like, "No, I'm just gonna leave him." Like, pussy.
Oh boy, I mean, I know this wasn't the main event of WrestleMania 13, obviously, but if they put this as a main event, then I wouldn't have blamed them for that after that performance. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, this match was WrestleMania main event worthy, if you ask me. All right?
Well, I still say that it was a 2-match show, this match and the main event.
Yep. Speaking of Bret Hart, we will talk about him and his involvement with the main event a little later on. What?
I said very shortly.
Yes. But before we talk about that, we go backstage where Todd Pettengill was doing an interview with Farouk and the rest of the Nation of Domination. talking about their upcoming Chicago street fight here in a few moments.
Yep.
Yeah, and of course, the three members that fought in this match were the original Nation of Domination of Farouk, Savio, and Crush, right?
Yep.
And pretty much, so that's led to that. The Nation, Farouk pretty much guaranteeing that they were going to pretty much beat down their opponents, win the match, whatever. Pretty much send Johnson back down the card or back down the streets, whatever, beating him down. And of course,
But send him back to the hospital.
Or send him back to the hospital, right? Because this was during Ahmed Johnson's freaking feud with Farouk and the Nation. Which...
Yeah, after they kicked him out of the Nation.
This was before he even joined the Nation, which, to be honest here, when it comes to Ahmed Johnson's WWE career, 90% of it was him feuding with Farouk and the Nation. And the other 10% was him out with injuries. Figure that one out.
That was caused by Farouk.
Yeah, figure that one out. All right?
Yes.
And of course, Ahmed Johnson's freaking rivalry with Farouk literally started when Farouk debuted for WWE back in July of '96. When he took out freaking Ahmed Johnson, injuring him in the process. Thus costing Ahmed Johnson the Intercontinental title plus the WWE Championship match. Right?
Yeah.
And, and then Johnson and Farouk fought each other at the '97 Rumble, which ended in a DQ. And then Ahmed Johnson was eliminated Farouk from the Rumble. And then led to this matchup where Ahmed Johnson freaking recruited Hawk and Animal, the Legion of Doom, who recently returned to WWE at this point, to face off against the Nation in a Chicago street fight. Six-man tornado tag style. Right?
Yep.
Let's see how this match goes. Can it follow that Bret Hart Austin match? It may have a shot, knowing it's no DQ rules, obviously. Right?
Yeah.
So obviously it was tornado style, which meant all participants were legal in this match. There was no such thing as tags. Right?
Yeah.
Anything goes, including the kitchen sink, which I believe LOD brought the kitchen sink in as a little reference joke. Right.
It was funny as hell because you gotta see Ahmed Johnson came in with the Legion of Doom theme song and he had fucking spikes on too. I'm like, wow, they really decked him out.
Yes. The only thing missing on Ahmed Johnson during the entrance was freaking Road Warrior inspired face paint, but I think that'd be going a little bit overboard, don't you think? Imagine if that was also the case. You'd be like, wow. They made him a freaking a Road Warrior for the night. Fully. Right?
Yes. But it was so fun. And fucking Hawk came out with a fucking 2x4.
Yes.
It literally said LOD.
Yes. Yes, Ahmed Johnson and the LOD dominated early in this matchup. There was action all over the ring. I couldn't even recall all of it, even if I wanted to. It's like, yeah, and at one point, Animal hit Farouk in the head with a trash can, aka Dominic Mysterio these days. I already beat you to that joke, right?
Is it bad that I was already about to message you yesterday, like, oh, it's the future Dominic Mysterio that just got put in.
Which this event obviously took place in like mid-March of '97. Funny that the future trash can wouldn't be born until literally a month later that April. And now we're suffering with him now on TV every Monday. Right?
And suffer with him in the video game, 2K25.
Yeah, we all know you love beating the hell out of that trash can in the video game.
And you can also be his masked version in freaking Myra, not Myra's, Yeah, the one that I like to play.
Was it My Faction?
My Faction, yes.
Yeah, you get to unlock the mass version of Dominic that he had for WrestleMania 39. I believe, but either way, freaking Ahmed hit Crush with the trash can and back in the ring. Hawk nailed a clothesline onto Savio while Farouk and Animal fought on the French announce table. Animal tried the pile driver on the table, but it didn't really work, considering the table just gave way, just fell to the ground, whatever. Right?
No, the table didn't even fall. They didn't do nothing. He hit the pile driver. It just withstood it. It didn't do shit.
And of course, I don't know when this happened, but freaking back in the ring, freaking Hawk went for a freaking shot with a 2x4, I believe on Crush, or whoever it was. Hit nothing but ring rope. The freaking goddamn 2x4 went flying, and Hawk caught him the rebound anyway.
Exactly.
And I'm just like, okay, that's pretty funny. Right?
It was Crush that was trying to hit Hawk with the damn thing, and Crush missed Hawk, hit the top rope. The freaking literally bounces out of his hand. Hawk's right there, catches okay, this is how you do it, dink.
It's like, oh, nice skills there, bro. Right?
Exactly.
And of course, Savio then whipped Hawk with a street sign afterwards. Then Hawk came back and put Dominic Mysterio on top of Savio's head there. He started hitting him in the head while he had the trash can on his head. Right? Well, Savio was wearing that trash can. Right?
Yes.
And of course, Johnson then Johnson on the outside gave Farouk a body slam to the table. And this time it actually broke. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, but then later on in the match, freaking the Nation tried to choke Ahmed with a rope or noose around his neck. That looked pretty disturbing, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Hogden hit a double clothesline on Farouk and Savio, and Ahmed freed himself from it, right?
Yep.
And then Animal then hit Farouk in the head with a road sign, or roadside stop sign, whatever you want to call it. While Savio then dumped Ahmed into the crowd. And of course, Ahmed won that fight, and he threw freaking Savio back in the ringside area. And then Farouk then used the rope to choke Hawk some more, while the other members of the Nation were attacking Ahmed, preventing the save. Right? I mean, this was just chaos everywhere. You got to really watch this match. Right?
Yep.
Oh, boy. So yeah, there was abundance of action everywhere. Hard hitting styles.
It was just full on brawl.
Yeah, this was a full on brawl here.
Even the guy that would be known as D'Lo Brown got into it.
Yeah, and there was a fire extinguisher used at one point where someone got fired the fire extinguisher to the face. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, and there was no pinfall attempts at all in this match. I need to point that out here. It's like Ahmed hit a spine buster while freaking Hawk used the fire extinguisher to take out the rest of the people, and that's where it was. But at one point, if I remember correctly, I believe Farouk had to hold that rope up on the ring apron. I think freaking Ahmed yanked on the rope, sending freaking Farouk into a free fall down on the floor. And supposedly that's where Ron Simmons or Farouk injured himself by separating his shoulder. Right?
Yes.
That's been well documented from this match. Right?
Yeah.
And of course, all of the rest of the Nation, which was D'Lo Brown and obviously the two rappers of the group at that point, I don't remember what their names were, joined in the match.
Neither do I.
Joined in the match, and well, Animal put Crush on his shoulders, and Hawk gave him the Doomsday device to end the match. And Animal pin crush to win the match while Ahmed was holding everyone back with a 2x4. All right, with a 2x4 that he used to clothesline crush, knock him down after that finisher. Right?
Yep.
So of course, the LOD and Ahmed Johnson won this crazy brawl. I didn't go through every one spot for a spot because, like I said, it's hard to recap it all when there was action everywhere, including.
Well, you couldn't really recap it at all, anyways, because they weren't just in the ring; they were in the stands. They were outside.
They were outside the ring. There was just a bunch of action everywhere. Some of which the cameras could not pick up. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, this is something more of a you need to watch this match to, enjoy it, right? Yes. So I was pretty much recalling the spots that I remembered that was actually shown, memorable spots, not the highlight spots, and not freaking the whole thing. All right?
Yes.
So yeah, anyway, your thoughts on this one with Hawk and Animal defeating the Nation in this unsanctioned match? From Bell to Bell. I liked it. Yeah. I mean, it's a street fight match it's a hard-hitting, hardcore brawl here that never really gets talked about because of the Austin Bret match that happened before it. Right?
Yeah.
But for those of you who want to watch another match from WrestleMania 13 besides the Austin Bret match, that would be the one. The Chicago street fight that happened afterwards, I would recommend. All right?
Yes.
Because you just got to see the craziness for yourself to get all the spots in. All right?
Yep.
Of course, after the matchup, freaking Ahmed gave freaking D'Lo Brown the pro rubber plunge. All right?
Yep.
And of course, Animal and Ahmed put the freaking two rappers of the Nation on their shoulders, so Hawk gave them a double Doomsday Device clothesline in the segment.
Yes.
So yeah, there you go. Let me do some research on here, so I can just get the names of these two real quick, because I keep forgetting what their names were. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay, the rappers for the Nation of Domination here were JC Ice and Wolfie D.
And Ahmed just picked up their fucking shit after they fucking got clotheslined.
And those two were apparently wrestlers who were known as the tag team PG-13. So there you go. So yeah, the two rappers got destroyed. Right?
Yeah.
Of course, after the match, ring announcer Howard Finkel welcomed Shawn Michaels to the ring, which Shawn Michaels was going to provide commentary for this next match, which was the main event. And of course, this was after he lost his leg injury that forced him to vacate the WWE Championship. I think it was a knee injury, really. And others say that Shawn Michaels did this because he had a legit knee injury. Others stated that Michaels vacated the belt because he didn't want to defend it against Bret Hart at this very show in a WrestleMania 12 rematch. But whatever the case is, Shawn wasn't champion anymore. Sycho Sid was at this point. Right?
Yes.
And Bret Hart wasn't in the main event. So there you go. So Shawn was providing commentary here. In the WWE Championship match was between champion Sycho Sid defeating against The Undertaker, this was The Undertaker's 6th WrestleMania appearance, I believe. Right?
Yes. Oh, Bret Hart was in the main event. He just got his ass beat in the beginning.
Yes. About to get to that. Undertaker entered first. This was The Undertaker's first WrestleMania main event. Right? First of, I believe, 4 WrestleMania main events that he had in his career.
Since he showed up in 91 at Survivor Series.
Yeah, I believe The Undertaker had 4 or 5 WrestleMania main events to his name. Right?
Yes.
So The Undertaker came out first, dressed in his, like, retro attire at the time, right? That he debuted in 1990. Little throwback to what he looked like at that point, right?
Yes.
And then, of course, then Sycho Sid, the champion, WWE champion, made his entrance. Sycho Sid won the championship from Shawn Michaels at Survivor Series 96, as we know, which featured that Shawn Michaels handstand. Lost the title back to Michaels at the Royal Rumble, but then, like we mentioned earlier, regained the championship again by defeating Bret Hart the day after in Your House the Final Four. So technically, this was Sycho Sid's second reign as WWE champion, and also Sycho Sid's second WrestleMania main event. Little fun fact: Sycho Sid only competed in 2 WrestleManias, and both of them were main events. Figure that one out, right? And of course, after both men made their entrances and they announced, this is a championship match, holding the belt up, everything, Bret Hart then made his way to the ring and then grabbed a microphone, right?
Yep.
And he was talking shit to Shawn Michaels, saying that he was a phony little faker about that freaking knee injury, right? And said they should just go back and go find his smile, hence the whole Shawn Michaels lost my smile promo, right?
Yep.
And he said that whatever Shawn did, he better stay out of this match. And then Bret Hart said that, and Bret Hart also stated that he and The Undertaker aren't friends anymore. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that partnership, that friendship that Bret Hart and Undertaker had. God damn, do you recall? It's like I don't recall Bret Hart and Undertaker having a lot of tag teams on range. Do you?
I don't remember one.
That's because they never were a team. Maybe backstage they were, but not on camera, right?
Well, they're like, oh, once you slam that door in my face, that was you slamming the door on our friendship.
Talking about that cage.
Fuck were you guys friends?
Maybe backstage, but not on screen. On screen, they were always rivals, right?
Yes.
And of course, he told Sid that the WWE Championship actually belonged to Bret and that Sid was a fraud and everyone knew it. So Sid ducked Bret with a punch knock and then he gave freaking Bret the power bomb. Yeah, and then freaking Sid then picked up the mic and told freaking Bret to leave, and then the crowd cheered as the referees escorted Bret out. And
well, he said to quit bitching.
Yeah, and they quit bitching, right? Pretty much. And Sid even said after he was done beating that piece of crap up, talking about Taker's going after him, but as soon as he said that, Taker attacked Sid from behind, starting the match. Right?
Yes.
Because you don't talk shit about the dead man without getting your ass beat. Right? Basically, is what's going on here. Right? And of course, yes, James Ross on commentary pointed out that The Undertaker was wearing the same attire that he wore at his WrestleMania's debut in 91. Right?
Yep.
But either way, it was his early attire that he had, whether it was from Survivor Series or WrestleMania 7. It doesn't matter, right? Still retro attire. So The Undertaker got the advantage early, getting a boot to the face of freaking Sid, along with working over Sid with punches in the corner. And then freaking Undertaker then hit Old School early on, right?
Yep.
Which the fans didn't really react, but they would later on when the name of that move was officially named, right?
Yep.
And then Undertaker then charged at Sid in the corner, but Sid reversed it into a bear hug, which lasted over a minute until freaking Taker broke it, but then it was reapplied again, right? And this was built as no DQ. There was really no freaking weapons used in this match. I think it was just no DQ to justify Hart's interference, right? And to make sure the WrestleMania main event didn't end on a DQ or anything like that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then Sid then came back with a boot to the face and then knocked the Undertaker out to the floor and then knocked him over the Spanish announce table. Right? Poor Spanish announce table can't even last one pay-per-view, can it? Without wrestlers being all over it, whether it breaks or not. Right?
Yep.
Yeah, and then outside Sid got the advantage when he dropped Taker throw first over across the guard railing and then a body slam onto the table, which Spanish announce table did not break. Holy shit. That was a first. Like, how'd the Spanish announce table not break this time? Do you know the freaking voodoo magic here involved?
Nope.
It's like, I don't either. Yeah, then freaking, back in the ring, freaking Sid rammed Taker back first on the ring post and then rolled him back in the ring for a 2 count. Yeah, and then freaking, Michaels pretty much stated the obvious, saying, you don't know if the Undertaker's hurt because he never shows emotion in the ring. I'm like, yeah, what a way to state the obvious. Right?
Yeah.
Of course, Sid applied the camel clutch on the freaking Taker, which bored the crowd because they wanted to see freaking this brawl between these two big men, not submission holds. That was what the Austin Bret match was for. Right?
Yeah.
A little later on, freaking Sid gave Taker a power slam into the ring, in the middle of the ring where Austin's blood was stained, and then hit a leg drop for a 2 count. Right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, by the way, back then they didn't change the wrestling match. They would now if there was blood involved. Right?
Yeah.
Of course, Taker then came back with a running freaking with a leaping clothesline on the freaking Sid after hitting the ropes. Taker then knocked Sid out to the floor, and Taker then threw Sid into the guardrail into the crowd. Yeah, and then shortly after that, Taker then slammed Sid's face under the steel steps. Right? In that sequence out there. Of course, shortly later on, back in the ring, actually, Sid got the advantage by putting in the most deadliest chin lock, or deadliest move on the dead man, which is the chin lock. Right?
Yeah.
That's 2 chin locks in one show that I spotted. Right?
Yep.
And of course, Taker tried to fight back, and he actually hit a power slam for a 2 count. Then the Undertaker then put on the freaking nerve hold on the Sid. Probably Sid was trying to freaking get his win back at this point and need a rest hold. Right? Applied.
Yep.
Yeah, then Taker then hit a clothesline for a 2 count. The crowd wasn't into it at this point, but either way, this was pretty much, a drawn out match between two big men. I didn't expect no technical spots or anything like that. Right?
Yeah.
And both of them hit the big boot to each other at the same time. Right? Knocking them both down. Right?
Yep.
Of course, the referee counted both of them down for 10 count, but Sid was the first one to move and he freaking went for a cover on Taker, but got a 2 count.
Yeah.
Yeah, then Sid then went to the middle rope and then hit a double axe handle to Taker again. Right?
Yep.
But whatever Undertaker tried to do, shortly afterwards, Sid countered into a body slam. Right?
Yeah.
And then Sid went to the top rope to hit whatever move he had on, but the Undertaker then sat up and slammed him off the top rope back into the ring. And the Undertaker then went to the top and then hit a freaking leaping clothesline for a 2 count. And at this point, it looked like Sid was exhausted. Taker looked like he was a little bit exhausted too, but the match had to continue. Right?
Yeah.
Of course, shortly afterwards, Taker signaled for a tombstone, but freaking Sid countered into a tombstone of his own and covered the Undertaker in the same way that the Undertaker freaking pins people after a tombstone. But Undertaker kicked out. Right? Because you can't beat the Undertaker with his own move. Right?
Yep.
Then Sid threw Taker out onto the floor, but the Undertaker then got back up. And Sid and Undertaker brawled, but then Bret Hart came out with a chair and hit Sid in the back with it not once but twice. Right?
Yeah.
Thus, they reveals why this was made a no DQ to allow a spot like that without the referee going, this match ends in a DQ. Right?
Yeah.
And of course, then Taker took advantage by driving Sid into the back first into the steel post here. Back in the ring, the Undertaker did hit a chokeslam on the Sid for a 2 count. And then Sid then ducked another clothesline that the Undertaker had coming. And then Sid then set freaking Taker up for the power bomb. But then Bret Hart once again came running up again, got on the apron, so freaking Sid attacked him on the apron, which resulted in Bret Hart freaking jumping down, bouncing Sid's head and throat off the apron, or off the ring rope, I should say. And then right when freaking Sid turned around, he got hit with a tombstone by the Undertaker, and then the Undertaker got the 3 count and the WWE Championship at the end of this one.
Yeah.
So, your thoughts on this Sid Taker match for main event?
It was good because it was funny as hell that fucking Bret Hart came. I was like, oh, bitching like he normally did, saying, oh, Sid is fake and all this crap, and fuck, he got fucking power bombed, and then freaking comes out again, fucking gets beat up, and then freaking hangs Sid up on the freaking top rope, which caused his defeat.
Yes. So yeah, after the match, the Undertaker celebrated with the WWE Championship. The crowd was cheering him on. The crowd went home happy, and this was the Undertaker's second WWE Championship reign. His first one, following his first one that happened in 1991. Right?
Yeah.
And that's how WrestleMania ended. 13 ended with. So there you go. So yeah, I thought the main event was good. I mean, the interference I could have done without, but I understand why they did it. Obviously, the winner in question was not in doubt here, since we know about the Undertaker's legendary streak at this point. That we did a tier list on, so you should go check that one out too. Right? Yep. So yeah, like I always say now, here's the part of the review that we consider our favorite part here, and that's the rating system and the final grade. So the Headbangers winning that 4-team elimination number 1 contenders match to start off the show, I gave that one about a 3 out of 5. It felt average to me.
Yeah, I gave it a 2.5.
I must have enjoyed it slightly more than you did. Rocky Maivia defeating the Sultan to retain the Intercontinental Championship. I also gave that one 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I gave it a 3.5.
Yeah, so about the same. Hunter Hearst Helmsley defeating Goldust. I gave that one 3.5 out of 5.
I gave that just a 3.
The Tag Team Championship match with Owen Hart and the British Bulldog against Vader and Mankind ending in a double countout. That disappointing finish, I gave that one 2.5 out of 5.
I gave that about 2.5, yeah.
Yeah, and I don't like giving an Owen Hart match or a Mick Foley match a low score like that, but the ending really was disappointing to me. Why it earned that rating. Right?
Yeah.
Bret Hart defeating Stone Cold Steve Austin by technical knockout in that submission match with Ken Shamrock as a guest referee. I easily gave that one 5 out of 5.
Yeah, it's 5 out of 5.
Obviously the best match of this card, and obviously the reason why this is essentially a one-match show in many fans' opinions. Right? Ahmed Johnson and the Legion of Doom defeating the Nation of Domination in that 6-man Chicago street fight. I gave a 4 out of 5.
I give it a 5 out of 5.
And of course, the main event, which saw The Undertaker defeat Sycho Sid to win the WWE Championship. I gave that one 4.5 out of 5.
5 out of 5.
And honestly, my final grade for WrestleMania 13 is a B, mostly because of the Austin Bret Hart submission match, and of course the Chicago street fight. Those two matches saved the show from like C territory for me.
Yeah, I gave it like a low B.
So like a B minus for you?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, that's our thoughts and our review of WrestleMania 13. So WrestleMania 13 was my pick, so next week is your pick. Jesus Christ, what are we going to be reviewing next week, or what are we doing next week here on the podcast?
We're going to be doing Heroes of Wrestling. No. We're going to do King of the Ring 95. We're going to do Uncensored 90. No.
Get to the point, man, because if you were going to have me review any of what you just mentioned, and you're doing it yourself like you said last week. It's like, get to the point. What show are we going to be doing next week?
We're going to do next week another WrestleMania.
I swear to God.
It is going to be.
I swear to God, if you play the same joke that I did last week, you're not funny because you're stealing my shit.
There's going to be WrestleMania 9. No. WrestleMania 8. No. WrestleMania 12. No.
Hey, WrestleMania 12 ain't that bad. It's just the main event that was freaking long.
The main event was shit.
The main event was a long 60-plus minute match for Mania 12.
Yes. It was an Iron Man match.
Exactly, but, eventually we're going to have to review that one.
We are going to be doing Battle of the Billionaires.
Oh, God, no.
Yes.
Oh, God, no, please.
We are doing WrestleMania 23.
Oh, God damn it.
Where Mr. McMahon fought with Umaga versus Donald Trump and Bobby Lashley.
Oh, yeah, bringing up.
If Mr. McMahon lost, he'd have to shave his head bald.
Oh, yeah, bringing up Donald.
Rag McMahon.
Yeah. Bringing up that freaking Battle of the Billionaires matchup that we're going to be reviewing next week. Whew. It's like, yes. Yeah.
Donald Trump is our president.
Twice. Yeah. Talking about Donald Trump. There won't be any political fucking propaganda next week, I swear to God. Yeah, to be honest, yes. I watched WrestleMania 23 when it was live on pay-per-view, okay? Before any of the future events happened.
So did I.
Ugh. And yes, besides the Battle of the Billionaires, the main event of WrestleMania 23 was Michaels versus Cena. And, of course, we had Batista against The Undertaker.
Yes.
And so, there you go. So, next week, we're going to be reviewing WrestleMania 23. Please no negative political opinions in the comments when I freaking upload that next week. It'll be deleted.
I hunger for it. It gives me fuel.
This guy just wants to watch the world burn, apparently.
Yes, I love watching the world burn.
So, yeah, anyway, we will talk to y'all next week. Peace.